So someone that regular GB News viewers will have come across is Scarlett McGuire, a former Labour Party advisor who winds up a fair few people that like to tune in to the People's Channel. Well, she was questioned about whether or not she'd gone away and done her research about the rape gang scandal and come away and reached any other different conclusions. Here's the really quite revealing truth of what she had to say.
McGuire, the last time you was in, I gave you a little bit of homework. I was suggesting to you to read some of these transcripts, to perhaps look at some of the examples, the details of this kind of crime that's quite prevalent and out there now in the public domain. Did you do that?
No, I didn't do that. Look,
Scarlett McGuire, why?
Because I have been incredibly busy. Look,
No,
hold on, Michelle.
Come on, Scarlett.
No, actually, you didn't. You told me the homework was to actually watch the Tommy Robinson video, which was 2 hours long. Serious? Hold on, Michelle.
No. On this, and my viewers will have seen the programme. On this programme, it was Ben Habib actually that had asked you whether or not you'd read the transcripts for this crime, because you was telling everyone that 85% of paedophiles are white, a stat that I don't dispute, by the way. And what I was trying to explain to you was, yes, that statistic is accurate. We're a majority white country, so it's not a surprise that the majority of disgusting paedophiles are white. No one's disputing that.
No.
The point we was discussing, as I was saying, and Ben was saying as well, that these crimes are specific, they're unique in nature, revolting. And we were both saying to you that actually, looking at these transcripts, the sentencing transcripts, it's key to understanding this issue. So I'm surprised that you wouldn't have, out of your own interest.
If you'd ever let me actually have a look, what matters is what's happening to those young, they were girls, they're probably young women now, right?
It's still
I am
going
not
on.
disputing.
It's still happening.
What is happening? But also a lot of them, I mean, what is...
But how do you know what's happening if you weren't taking the time to avail yourself of the information?
Because I have read the papers, I've read how awful it is.
You just said you haven't read the papers, actually, so I don't know why you're making out that that's the most obvious thing as the rain falling on the plane in Spain. Look, ultimately, what this, I think, exposes and highlights absolutely marvellously is that the left do not want to read up on all of these events. I'll tell you, Scarlett, you go through these transcripts, you will find examples like the poor little girl who had her anus expanded with a pump so that several men could allow themselves to insert themselves into this poor little girl. People being branded, girls being branded like they're cattle. This, to me, right, was very illuminating. It was very revealing because it revealed the extent to which there are people from certain cultures who view white working class girls as, and this is the language, by the way, that they used, as white slags. They dismiss them as others. They other them, right? This is what you call racism, by the way. Never mind all of that guff that we hear every 2 minutes about everyone in Britain being racist every 2 seconds. That is genuine racism, where you view someone's right to safety, protection, equality as completely moot because of the colour of their skin. That's what systemically happened to these girls. They were put through these rape gangs like they were factory farming goods from a Chinese runway. The fact of the matter is, they don't want to read up about it. These people on the left, former Labour advisors and all the rest of it, who, by the way, you know, the Labour Party has many politicians in local government and elsewhere that were complicit in covering up these horrible crimes and, dare I say it, still responsible for not allowing light to be shone upon what's going on in Britain today. But the reason is this. They cannot accept that the multiculturalism project that was expanded under Blair by a factor of goodness only knows what, you know, the kind of immigration that Enoch Powell was warning us about in the 1970s, pales in comparison to what Blair managed to open up come 1997 until the 2010. And then, of course, it was ramped up like you wouldn't believe under Boris Johnson. Believe me, a plague on both their houses. But it was started in large numbers under Blair. And the fact of the matter is, they don't want to say their idol and hero, Blair, Brown, or whoever else was totally wrong about multiculturalism. They don't want to admit that certain cultures are not as valid as our own, that certain cultures do not view these poor little girls as the angels that are worthy of protection that they are. They don't view gay people in the same light. They, dare I say, they don't view trans people in the same light. But they can't bring themselves to admit that, because that would be an admission of failure and being incorrect on their part. It's a bit like, I'm reminded of these parents who allowed their children to go through generally irreversible puberty blockers and hormone treatments, and even some surgically remove their breasts. And these people that will grow up probably to be found out to have been either autistic young people or homosexual young people who simply just hated their own bodies going through puberty. It's a tale as old as time, by the way. But these parents will never be able to look themselves in the mirror and admit that they shouldn't have allowed this to happen to their children, that they ultimately forwent their safeguarding responsibilities to protect that child. Well, in a similar way, the Labour Party will die on this hill, because otherwise they'd be admitting responsibility for the importation of a load of vile men who simply have a barbaric medieval view of women, and especially white young women. So that's why they'll never admit it. That's why Scarlett McGuire, dare I say, has not poured through the papers like Michelle had asked, hasn't looked through a few examples here and there, transcripts of what these girls actually had to say in a court of law, sometimes in front of their abusers, by the way, maybe behind a screen. But she says, oh, yeah, well, they're older women now, they're women of the world now. Well, actually, these women will be scarred by post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of their lives. What about the young girls, Scarlett, that are still going through this right now? That's why a national inquiry was so worthy, and why it was so irresponsible and utterly sickening for the Labour Party to have gathered together and decided that their multicultural project is far more important to protect than the safety and sanctity and safeguarding of young girls in Britain. But it was very revealing, that clip, I thought. Very revealing indeed.